How to identify and avoid 50 plus. Common logical fallacies. 1. Ad hominem. Attacking the person making the argument rather than addressing the argument itself. 2. Hasty generalization. Drawing a conclusion based on a small or biased sample size. 3. Red herring. Introducing irrelevant information to distract from the main issue. 4. Tu quoque. Dismissing someone's viewpoint by pointing out that they themselves are not perfect. 5. Slippery slope. Assuming that a relatively small first step will lead to a chain of events with significant consequences. 6. Special pleading. Applying standards, principles, or rules to others while making oneself or certain circumstances exempt from the same critical criteria. 7. Loaded question. Asking a question that has an assumption built into it, so that it can't be answered without appearing guilty. 8. False dilemma. Presenting only two options when more exist. 9. Straw man. Misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. 10. Circular reasoning. Using the conclusion of the argument as one of the premises. 11. Appeal to authority. Using an authority figure's opinion as evidence in an argument, even if the authority is not an expert in the relevant field. 12. Appeal to nature. Arguing that something is good because it is natural or bad because it is unnatural. 13. Composition fallacy. Assuming that what is true about one part of something has to be applied to all, or other, parts of it. 14. Division fallacy. Assuming that what is true about a whole must also be true of its parts. 15. Affirming the consequent. Assuming that if one thing follows another in time, the first thing caused the second. 16. Anecdotal fallacy. Using a personal experience or an isolated example instead of a sound argument or compelling evidence. 17. Appeal to emotion. Manipulating emotions to win an argument, rather than using valid reasoning. 18. Burden of proof. Fallacy. Claiming that something is true because it hasn't been proven false, or vice versa. 19. No true Scotsman. Refuting a claim by redefining a term in an ad hoc way to exclude the specific case or others like it. 20. Texas sharpshooter. Cherry-picking data clusters to suit an argument, or finding a pattern to fit a presumption. 21. Suppressed correlative. Assuming that one cause has only one effect, when in reality there are multiple causes for the same effect. 22. Personal incredulity. Asserting that a proposition must be false because you personally find it difficult to understand or believe. 23. Ambiguity. Fallacy. Using double meanings or ambiguities of language to mislead or misrepresent the truth. 24. Genetic fallacy. Judging something as either good or bad on the basis of where it comes from or from whom it comes. 25. Middle ground fallacy. Asserting that a compromise between two extremes must be correct. 26. Affirming the disjunct. A logical fallacy where one asserts that a disjunctive proposition A is true because B is false, when in fact both could be false. 27. Appeal to tradition. Arguing that something is true or right because it's always been done that way. 28. Sunk cost fallacy. A reasoning error that occurs when individuals continue a behavior or endeavor as a result of previously invested resources, time, money, or effort. 29. Appeal to ignorance. Arguing that a lack of evidence proves something. 30. Continuum. Fallacy. Asserting that a conclusion is false because it is not perfectly true. 31. Equivocation. Using ambiguous language to conceal the truth or to avoid committing oneself to any specific statement. 32. Faulty analogy. Assuming that because two things are alike in one or more respects, they are necessarily alike in some other respect. 33. Denying the antecedent. A logical fallacy committed when one argues that a conditional claim's antecedent is false and concludes the falsity of the conditional's consequent. 34. False cause. Presuming that a real or perceived relationship between things means that one is the cause of the other. 35. Definite fallacy. A fallacy that occurs when someone unfairly defines a term to suit their argument. 36. Ecological fallacy. Drawing conclusions about individuals based solely on the observations of groups to which those individuals belong. 37. Etymological fallacy. Assuming that the original or historical meaning of a word or phrase is necessarily similar to its actual present-day usage. 38. Quoting out of context. Removing a passage from its surrounding matter in such a way as to distort its intended meaning. 39. False equivalence. A logical fallacy in which two completely opposing arguments appear to be logically equivalent when in fact they are not. 40. Historian's fallacy. The assumption that decision-makers of the past viewed events from the same perspective and had the same information as those subsequently analyzing the decision. 41. Inflation of conflict. The exaggeration of disagreements between scientists for the sake of presenting science as less reliable than it is. 42. Incomplete comparison. A type of informal fallacy where insufficient information is provided to make a complete comparison. 43. Ludic fallacy. The misuse of games to model real-life situations. 44. Moralistic fallacy. Inferring factual conclusions from evaluative premises in violation of fact-value distinction. 45. Nirvana fallacy. The informal fallacy of comparing actual things with unrealistic, idealized alternatives. 46. Proof by assertion. A logical fallacy in which a proposition is repeatedly restated regardless of contradiction. 47. Cherry-picking. Presenting only select evidence that supports a conclusion, while ignoring or dismissing evidence to the contrary. 48. Psychologist's fallacy. The fallacy of treating hypothetical judgments of fact about what would be the case given certain conditions as judgments of value or ethics, or as judgments of fact about the actual world. 49. Reification fallacy. A fallacy of ambiguity. When an abstraction, abstract belief or hypothetical construct, is treated as if it were a concrete, real event or physical entity. 50. Retrospective determinism. The argument that because an event has occurred under some circumstance, the circumstance must have made its occurrence inevitable. 51. Thought. Terminating cliché. A commonly used phrase, sometimes passing as folk wisdom, used to quell cognitive dissonance, conceal lack of thought entertainment, move on to other topics, etc. 52. Fallacy of the single cause. It is mistakenly asserted that there is one simple cause of an outcome when in reality it may have been caused by a number of only jointly sufficient causes. 53. Appeal to the stone. Dismissing a claim as absurd without demonstrating proof for its absurdity. 54. Ignoratio elenchi. A fallacy of relevance occurring in an argument if an argument proves a conclusion other than the one actually presented and claimed.